Welcome to episode 616 of the Barcelona podcast, brought to you by the Blue Wire Podcast Network. I'm Nate Hilton, and bad news in the Champions League means it's 5 headlines. And unlike the other 5 headlines so far this season, these 5 headlines aren't so good. So let's suffer together. Here are the 5 headlines from Barcelona's 2-1 loss to Monaco in the first game of the Champions League this season. Headline 1 is ter Stegen Stinker. I could have used a lot of different words, some of them even profane, to speak about how this match started, which very much like the match that I think a lot of us had nightmares of, that PSG, the red card for Araujo last season, the last Champions League match for Barcelona that fans have been treated to. There was a similar stinker in this one that actually even made history. We jump ahead to the 10th minute, and we could have really just left this match here because it decided the rest of it. 10th minute, the awful mistake by ter Stegen. Eric Garcia was then forced to bring down Minamino, and it is a direct red card. It's the right call. He was in on goal. Eric Garcia brought him down. And I think a lot of people will say, if you're Eric Garcia, can't bring him down, concede the goal at that point. But he also thought he was going to get enough of the body that he was already too far behind on. It's a mistake by Garcia, but it is really a mistake by ter Stegen. In totality, we'll talk about ter Stegen later, but this was his worst match in a Barcelona shirt in a long time. And I would implore you to go down in the comments or hit me up on social media if you're listening to tell me the last time you can think that ter Stegen had a match that was this bad. In the watch along, I was going through with the audience and we were talking about how low we should make ter Stegen's rating as the match went on. I think we ended with like a 4.4, and that could have even been a 3 at the end of it. And 3 is about as low as you could possibly go, especially when you only lose 2-1. Yeah, if you lose 8-0 or 9-0, you're going to see some lower ratings than a 3, but a 3 is about as low as I would go. ter Stegen had 1 or 2 okay moments, like that really good save he might have had, saved him from getting a 3, but 4.4 is about as low as I could possibly get with the rating. This is a really bad game from the captain in ter Stegen, and his mistake is what created the history in a bad way. Eric Garcia winds up being the fastest red card for Barcelona in a Champions League match ever, and it is the 5th quickest red card in an official competition for Barcelona that dates back to 1977, but likely it goes all the way back even farther. So not great. And then for Barcelona to kind of crumble afterwards, or a little mini crumble fest, because they then concede the 1-0 to Akaluche with the goal, finds a near post. ter Stegen also probably should have got a piece on that to his near post. Rafinha and Pedri both didn't want to commit a foul because they had just seen one of their teammates pick up the red card. All around, this is a gross goal. It is not great from Barcelona, an improper response to getting a red card. And so they already find themselves in the early 1-0 hole, and we're just 16 minutes into the game. Headline 2 is Lamine Yamal levels. The star in the making are already the Estrella in Lamine Yamal. He gives culés hope. He's been doing it this year. I think he's going to continue to do it throughout his career, hopefully. And he gets the 1-1 in the 28th minute. Quality ball by Casado, who I thought at times was overwhelmed in the midfield, but I would say that Casado was one of those net positives today, including this ball over the top to Lamine Yamal, who was riding Vanderson's shoulder. Offside trap was not on, so Lamine Yamal able to kind of guide that ball into his path over Vanderson's shoulder. Then a quick change of direction, finishes near post with the left foot, which is a shot that he has not necessarily had on target in the last year, but seems like that is something that's improving. One of those little things that's improving that can make all the difference for his career. He does make a little bit of history, not exact Lamine Yamal youngest history, but with Ansu Fati returning to Barcelona, he was a reminder that he is the only player for Barcelona who was younger when he scored his first Champions League goal in 2019 at 17 years and 40 days. And Lamine Yamal becomes the second youngest in the entire history of the UEFA Champions League, not only for Barcelona, but just in totality. So it's Ansu Fati, it's Lamine Yamal, the youngest to ever do it. So congratulations for him to make history, getting his first Champions League goal, and you hope that he has many more. And that's where I think the positivity ends from this match review. So can we just take a breath, soak in headline 2, the fun from Lamine Yamal, to get it's time to get back into the negativity of what was the rest of this game. Headline 3 is 10-man game plan. After that, when the game is 1-1, the game was still in the balance. They were down by a man, but Hansi Flick could have put some solutions on the field. Now, looking at the bench, though, I don't know what you possibly could have done. I was saying it in the watch along that I feel like you had to keep the starting 11 which was the starting 11 if you weren't going to go Ferran Torres on the wing and he went with Eric Garcia instead, I probably would have gone with Ferran Torres. This is also hindsight. You don't expect the fastest red card for your team in Champions League history, but I probably would have had Eric Garcia coming off the bench just because I know that Hansi Flick wanted to have more possession and have that high line against Monaco and to control the match that way through the midfield. That was the idea. And I think having Rafinha as your 10 doesn't allow you to do that. We saw that in the first match of the season, particularly against Rayo Vallecano. And Rayo and Monaco do play in a very similar way. So you saw that Hansi Flick was trying to replicate, what he wanted to improve upon from Rayo Vallecano. And there was an opportunity to do that if you had all 11 on the field. So again, I'm defending Hansi Flick and saying you don't plan on a guy going down, as in losing a guy to a red card 10 minutes into a game. And so anything you could have done afterwards is just all speculation. Like, yeah, in hindsight, you would have wanted to start Ferran Torres so you could have had another midfielder come off the bench because you didn't actually have a first-team midfielder in any defensive sense at all, because Guillermo is he's Barca athletic, not even age. He's registered Barca athletic, but he's U19, U18, and even U16. Remember, he's a 16-year-old, so he's U16 eligible. Tony Fernandez is a winger, and even Pablo Torre, that's an attacking midfielder. So you don't really have another player to play as one of the pivots on your bench. So maybe that's why you do start Ferran Torres, just for depth's sake. But I totally understand why Hansi Flick, in that circumstance, started Eric Garcia. 31st minute, though, it is well done, at least by Pedri and Castro. I'm trying to give compliments where I can to play Barcelona out of trouble. Unfortunately, Balde fluffed a shot. There were bodies in front of him anyway, but Monaco did seem a little shaky at that point around the 30-plus minute. This game was also riddled with late offside flags, which is a compliment to Barcelona that the offside trap was working. Problematically, though, there were a number of occasions where, because of this rule that the flag doesn't go up until the play is dead, both Cubarsí and Inigo Martinez, A, they had to exert a lot more energy, and B, they could have been injured, very much like Cubarsí in that first half. Cubarsí and Inigo Martinez, though, we'll talk about the second goal, but at least in the first half, and for so much of this game, for 89 minutes, and Cubarsí gets the full compliment. Inigo Martinez made a little bit of a mistake on the second goal, as did Cubarsí, but we'll get to it. Cubarsí was still, though, in this game terrific, and Inigo Martinez, I thought, was good. He was still a net positive, and this game could have been a lot worse because of him. It was really gutsy of Flick, by the way, to continue to play high line. That tells you the institutional trust that he already has in Cubarsí and Inigo Martinez. But if you're going to play that high line, what you need is more pressing of the Monaco midfielders, which wasn't really happening the way that it needed to from Barcelona. This is not Rafinha's best match offensively. Of course, he had his chances, but I thought defensively also not the best match from Rafinha, who was being asked to do a lot down a man. Lewandowski was the same way. Not enough from him on the press. Also was having to cover too much space and just doesn't have the legs to do that at his age. Monaco were pressing themselves, and Castro and Pedri were being overwhelmed regularly in that midfield. And why I say Castro and Pedri were decent today is because this could have gone a lot worse in that midfield, but their ball retention abilities and understanding out of pressure prevented Barcelona from being in a lot more trouble. 52nd minute, it was route one football. Rafinha got against the keeper, but Rafinha was a bit too stretched and the ball had too much pace on it. Then the 55th minute on the counter, ter Stegen to Koundé to Lamine Yamal and Pedri. Then the Koundé cross was just outside of Rafinha's reach. But still, that latter half of the first half, start of the second half, Barcelona could have turned this game on their head. It didn't. Monaco come back the other way, and that ter Stegen good save on a Vanderson shot, that did kind of put the momentum back into Monaco's half, I thought. Shortly thereafter, there was a wacky punch by ter Stegen, and in that moment, it felt like the confidence from Barcelona they do follow ter Stegen as their captain. It just felt like their confidence got a bit shaky by that point, but I also thought legs got heavy by that point in the match. Headline 4, Monaco pushes ahead. This is that point in the match where I thought that Hansi Flick should have made substitutes, but in hindsight, who knows? I obviously am recording this right after the match, and even though it's going to come out after his press conference, I would love to know what he eventually had settled on as to why the subs came as late as they did. What I would have done is in the 60th minute, based on the pressing of those midfielders for Monaco that needed to happen, I would have taken Lewandowski off for Ferran Torres a little earlier, but doesn't happen. And you also don't expect at that point that you're going to concede. Felt like it was a high percentage, and it did. 71st minute, it's a good diagonal run from the teenager for Monaco. With Barcelona, I said they were playing risky, playing that high line. Inigo Martinez, for the only time of the game, was caught flat-footed, and Cubarsí had a bounce over his head. was dealing with the other forward. And when he pushed forward to be reactive, he was a bit too far forward, so doesn't get his head on it. Then ter Stegen can't make the save either. And then Ila Kenya with the goal, becoming the youngest Champions League goal scorer in Monaco's history, breaking Kylian Mbappe's record set in 2017. Congratulations to him, but again, that's where the good stuff ends because Barcelona now down 2-1. And these are the subs that I would love to hear the answer for. 80th minute, Gerard Martin, Sergio Dominguez, and Ferran Torres for Lamine, Yamal, Kubarsi, and Lewandowski. It felt like he was preserving those three for Sunday against Villarreal, where you know that they're likely going to have to play 90 again because Villarreal are playing really well to start the season. They're flying high, and now that game in Liga winds up being huge with the number of players that are out. 83rd minute, Pablo Torre on for Pedri, same idea. And then VAR got it right. Barcelona could have been down 3-1, but VAR got it right on the no PK. Initially, when I saw it, I saw the upper body from Inigo Martinez, and I feel like from the upper part that it could have been a foul outside the box, which would have made it a foul inside the box. But VAR, fortunately, saw what I didn't see on the initial game action, the way that the referee didn't see in game action, that it was Balogun who was kicking Inigo Martinez as Inigo had his shirt. So if anything, it was a foul on the American, on the Monaco forward, as much as it was on Inigo Martinez. So good job by the VAR to say, hey, this is not a PK. If anything, they fouled each other, or Inigo Martinez was fouled. And the 88th minute, Ansu Fati returned. He had that one touch that went a bit too far, so he lost the ball in his one opportunity on it. Other than that, it was just nice to see him on the field. So Ansu Fati, work your way back, take your time, but hey, hopefully you wind up having an important part of this season for Barcelona. Not enough time for him to do much of anything in those last 7 minutes when Barcelona were basically trying to not concede a third as much as they were trying to throw bodies forward and push forward to get that equalizer. It just didn't feel like it was going to happen. Which leads us to headline 5, which is Honeymoon Over. That's a question mark there because the recent results in the Liga felt like Barcelona were invincible. They were untouchable. But this is a reminder, at least the big picture for me, that this squad doesn't have the depth. It would have been cool to see Guillermo and Tony Fernandez or Hector Fort and the kids coming off the bench in a 3-0 win. That would have been awesome and all that stuff. But because you only had 14 total first-team players, some of which are Ansu Fati just returning from being away from Barcelona for a year, and Pablo Torre, who isn't really fully trusted by Hansi Flick. Those are two of your first-team players that come off the bench. Inaki Peña, your backup goalkeeper, maybe he could have been trusted for ter Stegen in this game as much as the other first-team players on the bench for Barcelona. But looking at the bench, you feel like, yes, the injuries are definitely piling up. Christensen could have helped this game. Ron Araujo, especially with that high line down a man, could have helped this game. Frankie de Jong could have helped this game. Gabi definitely could have helped this game. So there's just too many players missing at the moment for Barcelona. And I'm not trying to make an excuse. Dani Olmo, the other one too. This game was missing Dani Olmo from the opening whistle. Having to start Eric Garcia and basically change your formation and your ideas with Dani Olmo out, that just flips this game completely on its head without Olmo at all. So having all those players injured is starting to add up on Barcelona, and a negative result here, losing 2-1 with a red card in the 10th minute, feels like I'm making an excuse, but I'm not. That's just the way it went. And as I did these 5 headlines, it was really negative. Ter Stegen was bad. That's what happened. Ter Stegen was bad, and he made a terrible mistake. Instead of passing it to one of the 2 open players, he went for broke in the midfield with Eric Garcia under pressure. Then the red card happens, and just like that game against PSG last season with Araujo, it is impossible to judge this game. It's impossible to make these sweeping claims about the tactics or who's trusted by Hansi Flick or anything like that because a 10th minute red card is the story of this game. What that also means, though, is that Barcelona are going to have to figure out the things that didn't go right today. Like Rafinha had his worst game of the season. Sure, had a few chances, didn't work out for Barcelona on the day. So they're going to have to lick their wounds very quickly with the few players they have and come back against Villarreal on Sunday. And now my real question for Hansi Flick after this one is, yeah, obviously in the next Champions League match in 2 weeks against Young Boys, how do you recover there? Because you're still supposed to be on paper more talented than Young Boys, certainly. I expect them, that being Barcelona, to blow them off the field. Yes. But now against Villarreal, who are playing well and in good form in the Liga, what are you going to do with your team to respond? Because Koeman and Xavi, the responses weren't necessarily what you wanted to see. So Hansi Flick, the great motivator at this point, you've gotten good responses of your team so far. So what is the response on Sunday against Villarreal? Because I think, honestly, if you're Hansi Flick, you can, because of the red card in the 10th minute, throw this game out. So I would love to put this game behind us. I do, as I said, have good news, and that is the 20,000 subscriber video. It's taken me a few weeks and over a month now to work on. It's pretty much done. I just kind of have to figure out when I want to release it. Do I want to release it here after this match review with the bad vibes? If you do want to see it in the next few days, let me know. But I kind of might want to push the can down the road until after the Villarreal match, until we see what happens there, and maybe have it come out midweek next week before Hadafe or after Hadafe. We'll see what happens. So I do have that ready to go, and I think people are really going to like that, be really excited by it. But fortunately for Barcelona too, you get to put this one behind you quickly, and then Sunday it's Villarreal. So I will have the watch long against Villarreal on Sunday. So you join me in the description below for that match. And then, of course, it's back to the content as regularly scheduled. So in all of our disappointment, thank you for suffering with me through ter Stegen's blunders and the frustrations of the Champions League that unfortunately have continued on here in 2024-2025 season. But there is still much more positive to come this year. So don't stop believing, Kool-Aids. Because as always, until next time, Forza Barca.